Yo, yo, what's good? What's good, YouTube? This is Stormy B, man. Happy Sunday afternoon to you. Some people it might be evening time, some people it might be daytime, afternoon. Still got an hour to go before uh, noon here, but uh, greetings to you all. Thought I would come on, talk to you a little bit about what I found after tuning in last night to the matches. Um, I initially decided at the last moment that I wasn't going to partake. And then what happened is I was going through my streaming uh, services and it was on. Now, last week, I couldn't see anything through my streaming service. The Regis Prograde fight, I missed that one. And, you know, it's funny how things work out. But nonetheless, here I am. So, thought I'd start out by greeting everybody that's out there. Take a moment out to acknowledge everybody. We got Gil Coles. My man Gil Coles always showing love, showing up in my chats, and I appreciate it, bro. Smash the like button, people, as you come in, please. Lost D, Punch Out TV, the original brother that supported me from the very beginning. Lost D, much respect to you. Thank you for having me on your channel and the kind things that you have said about me, bro. Appreciate you so much. PK Boxing and MMA, good to see you out there this morning or this afternoon. Glad to see you. Still trying to get you on my show, man, for the Friday night chop session so you could chop it up with us, man. And I know you got some MMA to talk about because there was some fights this weekend. So he says hashtag LDBC. And we got boxing conversations with Reggie Owens. He says salute OG. What's going on with you, Reggie? Appreciate you, bro. And also appreciate what you did for me also. Appreciate that. Who else we got? We got AJ10. He says shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to you too, bro. Appreciate you stopping by, man. I noticed that you've been coming up on the channel more and more, so I appreciate your support. You know? And Lost D is saying, Reggie Owens, congratulations on the 1K, bro. You deserve it, my brother. Oh, yeah. Reggie, if you hit the 1,000, man, congratulations, bro. Congratulations on that. I know you were very close. So if you've crossed that benchmark, salute to you, bro. Great work and keep up the good work. Stormy B-Man is bringing up the rear. I will be there one day, hopefully. But congratulations all the same, bro. Reggie, you do good work on your channel, and you deserve that support that you're receiving. So, you know, as we go forward in the sport, you know, I look back a few weeks back, a couple months ago actually now, that when Sean Porter and Earl Spence fought their fight, they gave us something that really helps in elevating the sport. The match that they put on was every bit respectable to fights of yesteryear where class fighters faced off against one another. Chris Rayner, I see you, bro. Salute to you. When we had the golden era of the welters and middleweights from the 80s, and I call it golden because that's more closer to my generation as opposed to going back further, but there have always been great middleweights and welters. But just fondly recalling what those men did in the ring during the mid to late 80s. Sean Porter and Earl Spence Jr. gave that to us when they had their showdown and unification. It was an immediate throwback to that era when class met against class, and it was something to feel good about. One fighter who had always been acknowledged for his potential, and another fighter who was, already a veteran in the pro ranks, but always not given the credit for being who and what he was. And so when these two clashed, these two titans clashed, they brought the best out of one another. And that's all that you can ask for when you're watching boxing, because you want to see class. You want to see the best against the best. You want to see them give their wholehearted efforts. Nobody wants to see someone not be able to go home to their family. But what we would like to see is the combatants execute their abilities to their maximum against someone who can challenge them and raise the level of where they found themselves in the sport. And they gave us this wonderfully. Now, just like certain people in our society, we have people who do great things, give you great moments of encouragement, inspiration, and then you have those who want to set you back. Whether it's intentional or non-intentional, it happens. It is the yin and yang of our life. And it happened again last night with the match between Sergey Kovalev and Saul Canelo Alvarez. It can't be helped. You're seeing it right before your very eyes. I want to acknowledge a few more brothers have jumped in with us. Okay. We got the Architect 1. He says peace and smash the like button. Yes, sir. Thank you, Architect 1. Please smash the like button. E. Woodson, my Chi-Town brother. He says salute, Chi-Town OG. What's going on with you, E? I hope you ain't working. You're always working when I go live. So it's like, I hope you having your Sunday to yourself, E. Woodson. Appreciate you, bro. Trap House Boxing has fell in the building. What's going on with you, Trap? Appreciate you, bro. And Mike Biggs Boxing is out there. He says salute. Salute to you, bro. And Kenneth Johnson is out there. Says salute, Stormy B-Man. Salute to you, Kenneth. Appreciate you out there. Gregory Wyatt. He says, greeting, brothers and sisters. Troll Hunter on deck. That's right, Gregory Wyatt. The Troll Hunter. Sheldon Holmes is out there. He says, good morning, OG. Good morning to you, man. I appreciate you people coming out and supporting me this morning, man. That's really nice of you. And whether you stick around the entire duration or you just in and out like a robbery, hey, man, I appreciate it all. Just hit the like button for me as you pass through. I appreciate that. You know, the title of this stream today is Sunday Fixings and Mixings. And the basis of that title, when I say fixings, it's alluding to the fact that what we saw last night wasn't what you really saw last night. And it was more of that thing if I alluded to a moment ago about when boxing is able to step out into the forefront and be the sport that it can be. It can always be mired by taking a few steps backwards or off track. And we saw that last night. And we're going to get into it. There are some people who may not like what I have to say about it, and I don't really care because my opinions and my thoughts about what I was able to witness and how I was able to interpret what I was witnessing. It's my experience. Everyone has their own individual experience, you know. But this is something that you have to talk about it, and if you have any sensibility, you have to call people out on these type of things because this is not what you subscribe for. It is not what you intend to set a couple of hours of your day or night out for, fraudulent activities in the sport. It's just like in football or basketball when you heard recently in the past 10 years or so about the officials who were being paid to control games and point shaving and things like that. We know that those things have happened, but when it's obvious, when it's blatant, when somebody actually comes out and says, yes, I was paid to do this, or yes, I did that, it really puts a black eye on the sport, the event, the people involved, and you wonder where the integrity is. So we do have to talk about these things. Now, I won't hold you guys very long. I'm not going to be on all day or anything like that or for a couple of hours, but I will be on long enough to try to get my point of this discussion across. Regarding last night's match, pay-per-view match between Sergey Kovalev and Saul Canelo Alvarez. One of the red flags that people should have noticed early on was Sergey Kovalev, after his bout with Anthony Yarde, which turned out to be a very entertaining fight because Yarde was youthful enough, strong enough to present Sergey with some problems, as he had recently, in the past couple of years, had his cloak of invincibility stripped away from him through two rugged fights with Andre Ward, one ending in a TKO stoppage, and then his first fight against Eleider Alvarez, where he suffered a knockout at Alvarez's hands. Now, the thing about Alvarez in that fight, he had been ducked several times and paid step-aside money several times by then WBC light heavyweight champion Adonis Stevenson. And it almost became laughable how these two men who were supposed to meet, it just wasn't happening. Alvarez had been his #1 contender for well over a year. And it extended into a degree that people were making a mockery of it at some point. People who had been watching what was happening between the two. So when Alvarez got his opportunity against Kovalev, people were wondering, like, what would this be like? How would it, how would it play out? And Kovalev was doing fairly well with him. He wasn't afraid of Kovalev, but he was a true light heavyweight, and a strong one. So when he ended up clipping Kovalev really good and getting him in trouble and eventually stopping him, it was really not a surprise for a former #1 contender to be in this position who had been ducked by another champion under another sanctioning body. It played out like it can play out when a man is hungry and he has ability. Now, in their rematch, it didn't look right. It was like Eleider didn't fight the same type of way, and the fight went south for him as Kovalev was able to regain his title. Excuse me. So as we watch this, and we find ourselves wondering, like, okay, what's left? Here comes Anthony Yarde, right? young guy from the UK, brash, talented, and looking like someone who could have a future in this sport. Although his training methods, which had been brought to light, and his abilities as far as what he brought didn't measure up to Kovalev's amateur experience as well as ring experience, we know that Kovalev has had some outside the ring problems. Okay? And those outside the ring problems are formidable, including the law. So he was starting to go through different trainers. Maybe his discipline as far as his drinking and things like that weren't what they're supposed to be. So he could be ripe for the pickings. And that by the skin of his teeth, also with the assistance of Buddy McGirt, who worked his corner. I'm giving this bit of background because as I begin to speak on these things, I want to acknowledge that Saul Canelo Alvarez, who has come off of recent matches with the likes of Triple G, Danny Jacobs, name fighters, I'm saying, for him, former champions and also champions who found themselves challenging him. Canelo has faced these men at middleweight and catch weights, and always seems to be fighting someone who is older than himself. Red flag number 2. Not fighting guys who are your contemporaries as far as your peers, as far as your age and things like that. Guys who have maybe been around in the sport a lot longer. Guys who have taken a lot of punishment or have had a punishment over an extended career. You have to look at these things. But there's something else. When he's faced this quality of opposition, the names like I just gave, Canelo was never in any position where it seemed like he would stop any of these guys. Okay? And he has a history where he has been caught cheating, doping in the sport, and has been given a slap on the wrist time and again. That's a red flag. But even with doping, he's not stopping guys. Okay? And as he won certain fights, he seemed to have a favor with judges. Judges are always giving him the benefit of a fight seemingly before the fight begins. Red flag number 4. As I break this down and I present it, it's just to get people to look at things and see them for what they are. If you haven't been knocking guys out at the lower weights, how is it that you would suddenly become a person who could threaten to do something at heavier weights? What I'm proposing here is that you just kind of do an analysis of what you're looking at. And as he acquired a couple of titles, nearly unifying the middleweight division, he left a couple of opportunities on the table at middleweight against fighters who were young enough, capable enough to present real challenges to him. Fighters in the likes of when you talk about Demetrius Andrade and you talk about Jamal Charlo, fighters who were right around that time in that period where he could compete with them, and if he defeats these guys, you can actually anoint him for his accomplishments. But by not giving them their just due, their opportunity, you have to say that you question what the motivation here is. And so last night we found out what it was. When he avoided securing a fight against either Andrade or Charlo, who was a #1 contender for one of the belts that he unified, being elevated to this franchise status put him in a position where he can pick and choose what he wants to do going forward without risking a loss, without risking looking bad, without risking the threat of this certain legacy that they had in mind. And then we started to hear this Henry Armstrong talk. Red flag number 5. You know, you notice there's a lot of flags here, right? Canelo being equated along the likes of someone like Henry Armstrong is just such an insult to a historical figure in the sport. Henry Armstrong was an accomplished fighter who held titles in separate weight classes simultaneously, but was not the greatest in stature as far as being a man. Henry was, he was strong enough in everything to fight middleweights and light heavies and welters, but also he wasn't juicing. He wasn't cheating with PDs. He wasn't having weight clauses. He wasn't having rehydration clauses. He wasn't fighting men who were on their last leg or guys who are looking for a secure payday to get out of the sport because they have trouble outside the ring on the horizon that may send them away to the can for a long time. He wasn't fighting under these circumstances. He was fighting under the circumstances when guys were pitting their wares against the best that the sport had to offer, and he was winning hands down because he was that good. Simple as that. Simple as that. Go back to the chat for a moment. So, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says, at Trop House, I just subbed to your channel as well. Laws D Punch Out TV says, smack that button for the OGB man. Thank you, Laws D. Sheldon Holmes says, I want to know what happened to the stick of a jab that I've been used to seeing from Kovalev. That pity patter shit I witnessed last night was very suspect in my opinion. Trap House Boxing says, Stormy is so bad now that you have to always question, does it make sense for this fighter to win? Absolutely. New Fat Boy Fitness is out there. Good to see you, new Fat Boy Fitness. He says good morning. Good morning to you. And Trap House says, it's strange that Canelo didn't KO Lil G or Jacobs or Cotto and etc. Exactly, Trap. That's what I was getting at. I was presenting this background and backdrop to set up what you were seeing for last night, because it is something that, unbeknownst to the casual, this is all scripted. What you saw last night was scripted as hell. Brooklyn Boxing Child is out there. He says, salute, Stormy. I'm going to rewind from the beginning. That's cool, Brooklyn Boxing Child. Just check us out, man. We still rolling. Only been on about 25 minutes or so. Let's see, I'm still checking with the chat because things have moved on me a little bit. AJ10 says, what was strange? Canelo usually beats guys cumulatively. Last night, there was just a sudden KO. Absolutely, AJ. You see, this is the thing. If you ain't got it, you ain't gonna get it. Meaning power. Okay? You can take all the PEDs you want. If you're not a puncher, it's not going to help you. It's not. Canelo has KO'd no one, and he laid some leather on Triple G's ass. Okay? Triple G was never in danger of either going down or being knocked out. So you mean to tell me a man who has fought his entire career at light heavyweight is gonna not sustain any damage over the fight, because Kovalev had no marks on his face. Okay? He wasn't being hit clean with anything. Then all of a sudden, he's going to get hit with a couple of fight punches, and then he's going to stagger and do the stanky leg and go down in the ropes and sag. And when he went down, the referee comes over and waves the fight over. He didn't even count. I'm getting ahead of myself because I know we need to talk about these things. But did you notice in the ring walk to the fight, they were already advertising that Canelo was going to be joining the ranks of Henry Armstrong? Dude, that wasn't a given unless it was given. The light was given that he was going to prevail in this event. All boxing matches are not fixed. They're not. But there is a certain narrative that is following this man in his career. And they think that the public is dumb, basically. They really do. Sheldon Holmes says, shit, why is there some kind of weight clause stipulation against most fighters as well? AJ10 says Canelo is not a legitimate champion at 168. He's not a legitimate anything in the sport of boxing. Being a doper, being a guy who fought at his own weight, being a guy who has put stipulations on other fighters if they're contracted to fight him. This is all an absurd angle for a particular individual in the sport to keep the sport relative to promote what they're trying to promote. I said yesterday, I don't even think that Canelo Alvarez is Mexican, man. Now, some people might find that disrespectful, but prove me wrong that he is. He certainly looks like an Irishman, and he never speaks English in public, but he can speak the hell out of it behind the scenes, probably better than I can. And the reason that he doesn't speak it at all publicly, because if you were to hear him speak English publicly, he probably doesn't have a Latin accent when he speaks English. That's something to think about. Derek Bailey is out there. He says, salute Stormy B-Man. What's going on with you, Derek Bailey? You were rolling with us yesterday. You're rolling with us again today, man. Appreciate you. AJ10 says, you are right. There was no count. Absolutely. The guy goes down and the ref says, oh, that's it. What happened to the benefit of the guy like they gave Tyson Fury? Huh? When Tyson Fury was laying down there, they hit him with electrostatic charge. They sprinkled crack on him. They gave him a shot of adrenaline and everything, and slowed the count down. The referee says the timekeeper outside the rings count is not. He's like, I go by my own, and it's not 10 seconds. What the hell? It sure wasn't 10 seconds last night, because as soon as Kovalev sagged down, they were waving it off. And he laid on those ropes like he was severely hurt and injured. And he wasn't. This is not what it is, man. This is not what you were seeing. It was like that was a show. These men were putting on a show last night. And it wasn't a boxing show. It was an acting job. The fact that Sergey Kovalev, who had a very good jab, Andre Ward's face was busted up a little bit in that first fight from Kovalev's jab. He got dropped by Kovalev's right hand. Kovalev throws the right hand. It's his Sunday punch. And he threw it effectively. Last night, he barely threw the right hand. And when he did, it was like he was just touching the guy with it. You've watched Sergey Kovalev fights before. He's a beast when he goes after people. And because he was fighting a smaller man, why he didn't go after the smaller man? He was moving away, peppering with a touchy touch jab. Pity pat, as someone said earlier in the chat. Are we not seeing what was happening here? It sets boxing back when you blatantly put guys out here and make them up as heroes without them actually accomplishing something in the ring to garner the award and accolade of being a hero. He's a freaking cheat, okay? They caught him several times cheating. And he has been helped out by the sanctioning bodies, awarded a status where nobody can beat him. He doesn't lose his status in the sport. Why do we even have the sport? If a guy can't lose, if a guy can't lose his footing, why are we even having this? Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owen says, it was suspect when Kovalev had Canelo hurt and running in that 8th round and didn't go for the finish. He stopped punching and had Canelo trapped on the ropes. Yeah, man. AJ10 says, it felt scripted from the production, the judges' scorecards to the final results. Yeah, man. That's what it is. Trap House says the whole DAZN card was A1 and highly decorated with the premature stoppages and scripted KOs. I didn't watch the others, but I don't doubt there because DAZN has done a lot of questionable stuff. Don't forget the Rocky Fielding fight where Canelo hit the guy in the body and he looked over to his corner, Rocky Fielding. And he was looking over there as if to say, is this where I go down, guys? Should I stay on my knee? He didn't go down on his back. He kind of went down on his knee. Huh? Nobody talked about that much, but I talked about it when it happened. I was like, this guy's looking over at his corner to see if it's okay to stop right now. Or he was looking at somebody outside the ring, because he was looking out the ring. But he was uncertain of where he was supposed to fall or how. Kovalev did a better job of pretending. But if you notice in the post fight, he was up smiling and talking and everything, and he had no marks on his face at all, meaning that Canelo never really touched him up during the 11 rounds that they was fighting. Who has Canelo knocked out in the past 4 or 5 years? Who has he knocked out that is a named fighter? We ain't talking about the little mid-grade fighters that he fought, like a Fielding or something, but in matches against even, Triple G twice, Danny Jacobs, Miguel Cotto, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He pounded on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who basically took punches all night long and never was in danger of going down. Now, all of a sudden, he's going to come in there and blast Kovalev out in the 10th round like, oh, I got to get this guy out of here. And he's like, throw a couple combinations and the fight is over? Kovalev may have been hit with a harder punch than that in the early rounds. You guys, come on, man. We watch boxing religiously. As a community, we're always out here talking up the fights on one another's channels. We're talking about the competitive nature of the fighters. We're talking about the apprehension of fighters to face one another of class and things like that. You ought to be able to see the difference now when someone is BSing. They're bluffing. Sergey is a seek and destroy type fighter. He didn't seek to destroy anyone last night. He was going in there carrying rounds, and he was told a certain round was when it was going to be over, and he cooperated. Now he has to go on after this and face a judge in court on his outside the ring antics and everything. They've caught up with him. And if he gets a stiff penalty, he'll have money that he's gathered for his family to take care of his family if they decide they're going to put him in the doghouse where he belongs. If he has the opportunity to continue, he's got to deal with DAZN now. So he'll be a DAZN house fighter now. How about that? Sweet, isn't it? Sweet for a cheat. Sweet for somebody that is not on the up and up. I have no respect for the man as a fighter in the ring. Definitely had no respect for him outside of the ring. But to hell with Canelo Alvarez. He is not what they're hyping him to be. He is not. It's a show when it comes down to him. And he tries to walk around the ring. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. He tries to walk around the ring like a freaking diva. Before the bell, before the first bell, and when the fights are over. He walks around. He tells everybody shush with his finger like this and all of that, doing those Masonic gestures and everything. It is what it is, bro. That ain't what the Latin fighters do. Latin fighters will beat their chest, they yell out, they scream out Mexico or whatever. This guy walks out there jumping up on the ropes telling everybody to shush, don't tell the secrets. Huh? And then he gets out there and then he walks around, you know, so solemn and everything. And as he takes interviews in English, he responds in Spanish. And the fact is that he's responding before the English has been interpreted. This is a damn show. It's a freak show. And I don't like it. You got some guys out there ready to hand him his dinner. Okay? Andre, Charlo, both clean as clocks. Danny Jacobs was on the take. He's probably somewhere now shining his taps on his shoes where he's listening to these comments that we have for him because don't nobody respect what you're doing either, Danny Jacobs. Lars D says, sprinkle crack on him. AJ says, for a man severely hurt, Kovalev was coherent right after the ref waved the fight off. Yeah. Huh? Maybe Kovalev should take his ass over there to the WWE with Tyson Fury. Trap House Boxing says it was a Tyson Fury WWE show. Exactly. Exactly, bro. Sheldon Holmes says, the bias for Canelo on DAZN is so disgustingly after 4 rounds. When I seen the commentary scorecard was tied at 2 rounds apiece, I just shake my head and got up and poured some more liquor in my glass. Yes, Sheldon Holmes. And we all should pour out a little liquor for the sport of boxing because they had 2 black eyes last night. 2 black eyes. Trap House says, Kovalev and Canelo was both clean-faced after the fight. Yeah. Now you know why Danny Jacobs didn't try to win. Because he was on the take too. What he may have made publicly, he probably made a little bit more extra under the table for taking the loss. AJ says, Canelo is the most manufactured champion I have seen in this era. Yeah, in modern boxing actually. Because even the Mexican fighters don't respect the guy. They don't. They don't have any respect for him, man. Guys like Eric Morales, who we know who have fought wars with Barrera and Pacquiao and Danny Jacobs. Danny Garcia. You know, he hates what Canelo means in the sport because he knows it's all BS. Trap House Boxer says that means A1 trash, Stormy. Yeah, I got you. I got you, Trap. Respect, bro. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens says, Trap House, I was in the house tripping, like finished the guy. A lot of people were. Trap House says, me too, Reggie. Lost D says, I didn't watch the fight, but man, wow. Absolutely. Sheldon Holmes says, Amir Khan, laugh out loud. Yeah, that was the last guy he really knocked out, and Amir was smaller than he was. Trap House says, you didn't miss anything, Lost D. You didn't miss anything. You sure didn't, bro. AJ says, Kovalev received a purse of $12 million. One more than one Triple G fight, Jacobs and Chavez Jr. combined. AJ says, Kathy Duba says they were good, win or lose. I'm sure they were. And Canelo understands English well. He speaks it even better than he understands it. Because it's obvious that he doesn't understand it's illegal to cheat. Huh? Lars D says, I could be wrong, but I think Triple Flea won the first fight against Canelo, B-Man. It's possible. But with these judges and Canelo, he's already up a couple of rounds when the fight starts. Do you know why when a fight that is close and ends at the end of the bout, why it takes so long for the judges' scorecards to come through? Because they make adjustments. They already give a certain fighter a certain amount of rounds. And so when the fight gets closer than that, they have to justify their scoring. Some just go with it, and that's where you see those lopsided 117 or 118 to 109 or 110 and all of that. But a lot of these judges have their scorecards already figured to give a guy a certain amount of rounds. 7-5 wins you the fight in a championship fight, right? But when the fight is closer and you got knockdowns or guys took a point off the referee, and then you get to that final decision and they have to, the reason that they going through and scoring, they have to make adjustments on their scorecards. That shit is illegal, man. Nobody ever knew that? Nobody ever figured that shit out? Because if you're done with your score, you turn the scorecard in. But they don't turn it in because they have to, okay, shit. He took a point away from the guy in this round, and I have to change the score on this round to fucking make it work. Shit. Trap House says, what do you think about Young Holy signing with Main Events? Well, Evander was with the Main Events when he started out. So they're probably going to look after Young Holy, early on. And they're probably going to take care of him. And Evander may be comfortable with that. So that's what I think about that, Trap. AJ10 says, I had Kovalev winning 7-3, but I may have to rewatch it. Both guys were not doing much, but Kovalev was slightly more active. Yeah. And Canelo's aggression was not effective aggression. Part of the 10-point must system of scoring. Effective aggressiveness. He wasn't effective in his aggressiveness. He was basically following Kovalev around. And Kovalev was playing tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. He wasn't even trying to punch through the target. He wasn't trying to back the guy off of him. I mean, he actually stood and traded with blows with Alito Alvarez, which is why he ended up getting hurt to begin with. But why wouldn't you trade with this guy? He's a smaller guy. He's not. It's not like he's a threat to you. Kovalev wouldn't have to worry about being knocked out by this guy because he ain't knocked nobody out. You know, come on, man. It's not what you thinking, man. It's not what you thinking. The thing with boxing and championship caliber boxing is there's a certain amount of integrity that champions put on the line in fights. But if they're fighting with their hands tied, and it looks like almost everybody that Canelo is fighting with a handicap. I can't respect that. I can't respect it because you're giving too much away. I remember people made a big stink about Sugar Ray Leonard back in 1987 fighting Marvin Hagler. He wanted the thumb attached gloves, and he wanted it not 15 rounds but 12 rounds. And they were like, "Oh, Leonard is trying to line the things up in his favor against Hagler." But hindsight being 2020, I could see why he wanted the rounds cut down if that was an option for him, because he wasn't a legitimate middleweight. Leonard had trouble at junior middleweight with guys like Ayub Kalule and things like that. He got dropped and stuff, so he probably didn't want to be in there with Hagler for 15 rounds. And since he was the man, you know, they say A side, B side nowadays, but since Leonard was the name in the sport at that time over Hagler, having thumb attached gloves so he wouldn't be thumbed because of his eye problem, and fight being adjusted from 15 rounds to 12, that didn't seem like a lot to ask. It really didn't, because Hagler was a championship caliber fighter equally as well as Leonard. However, if he had put a weight clause stipulation in there and said that Hagler couldn't rehydrate up to a certain weight and this and that, now you're looking at some funny business, Leonard. What you doing? Huh? Now you're looking at funny business. And it seems like Canelo does this with everybody. And this is the other part. If you do not adhere to what the clauses are and stuff like that, then they could take $250,000 from your purse. That's a fucking lot of money, man, especially when you're paying your camp, your promoter, you know, your trainers, stuff like that. Dude, you look at that, at $250,000 from your purse going back to the other guy, that's fucking robbery, man. And Canelo has been doing this to everybody. I can't respect that, bro. I can't respect it at all. Trap House says, that's what I think as well, Stormy, about Young Holy. Yeah. Derek Bailey says, that fight was a glorified sparring match. Agreed, Derek Bailey. With the scripted end. Laws D says, great talk, B-Man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, Laws. AJ says, it looked like when a bigger fighter fights a smaller fighter in the gym for work. Yup, like when Benavidez sparred with Sean Porter in the gym, getting him ready for Earl Spence. Benavidez didn't go in there to beat up on Sean Porter. He just went in there to give him some work as a bigger, stronger guy. So you're exactly right there. You know, AJ, that's exactly the perfect example. Trap House Boxing says, but also Leonard was coming off a 3-year layoff, I believe. Yes, he was. Trap, yes, he was. But he was in the gym a lot. Now, gym doesn't equate to live action fighting, but when you're talking about who Leonard was, he had quality people around. You know, Ray wasn't as out of shape as a lot of people may have thought he was. He wouldn't have been able to put on the show that he put on if he were. Plus, Hagler cooperated with Ray a little bit in the first quarter of the fight. He gave away the first 3 rounds by fighting orthodox, when Ray was clearly having trouble with guys like Quincy Taylor and everything, getting damn near knocked out in sparring, preparing for Hagler. Southpaws. He was having tremendous amount of trouble with southpaws preparing for Hagler, and Hagler comes out orthodox. Gave the first three rounds away. Derek Bailey says, plus Ray was coming off that long layoff. AJ says, Canelo had 8 catchweight fights on his resume. It has to be some kind of record. Derek Bailey says, facts Trap. Main Event Mark has fell into the building. He says, salute Stormy B, man. What's going on with you, Main Event Mark? Yeah, bro. You know, we have to look at these fighters with scrutiny. When something doesn't seem right, it's usually not right. Kovalev, if Kovalev was a shot fighter, then the way he responded to those punches that ended the fight, I could understand. But he fought Anthony Yard and didn't do that until that round where Anthony Yard caught him and got some good body shots in on him and everything, and was overwhelming him with his youth and strength. Canelo never put in the body work or whatever to put Kovalev in that type of situation. This is why you can't believe what you were seeing. It's like this guy responded as if he had been taking a beating and then he got finished off. Bullshit. That's not what that was. Canelo won't even fight young athletic fighters that are in his weight class or around his age or anything. He's always being put in a position to look good or to look better than the other guy. That's not boxing. That's not the real stuff. Okay? And again, when we talk about his power, how does he get the power to knock out a light heavyweight in the 10th, 11th round, but he don't knock nobody out at the lighter weights that he fought? Man, get the hell out of here with that. The guy is not that powerful. He is not a knockout puncher. Main Event Mark says that left hook that grazed his ear and the following stumble in the 11 looked suspect as hell. Of course it did. AJ says the finish did not match the tempo of the fight. It sure didn't. If Canelo was a knockout puncher, and when I say a knockout puncher, like a Deontay Wilder, a one-punch guy, if he was that type of guy who could get you out of there with one punch, and there's nobody at those weight classes right now who have that, at super middle, at middle, or junior middle. None exists right now. We're talking about Julian Jackson type guy where he can hit you, boom, and that's it. The fight is over. Canelo is not that guy. So how do you go in there and beat a 2-time light heavyweight champion who's been fighting bigger, stronger men his whole entire career? And you haven't done this to nobody. He didn't do that to Rocky Fielding. And Rocky Fielding took a shot to the liver, but it didn't look like one of those debilitating shots to the liver, like when Amir Khan hit Maidana to the liver, and Maidana went down on the canvas and was writhing in pain like you're supposed to respond to that type of shot. Or when Virgil Hill took the shot from Roy Jones, and he was on the canvas and couldn't get up. That's a real liver shot. Canelo didn't even do that to Rocky Fielding. He basically just touched him there. And the guy went down, took a knee, and he looked over the corner, nod his head like, okay, is that it? That's cool. Can I stop now? What the fuck? Andre Ward softened Kovalev up, yes. Stripped his cloak of invincibility away, yes. And Alito Alvarez punched him into the canvas, yes. But he came back and he boxed Alito Alvarez, who didn't fight like he did the first time, and he got a victory. And then he knocked Anthony Yarde out with jabs. So you got a guy smaller than Anthony Yarde, and you're coming off a fight that's just a month and a half before. And this guy could do this to you? Let Canelo get in there with Anthony Yarde and see what fucking happens. I'm sorry, man. This is just bullshit to the highest degree. This fight was a sham. They mixed in history with a guy who has earned none of it. He is a despicable human being as far as the sport of boxing is concerned. Canelo Alvarez is a fucking drug cheat, and he's a guy who fights where his fights are fixed. And maybe he's not fighting these other guys because the other guys aren't willing to be on the take at the end of the day. AJ says the average age of Canelo's last 5 opponents at the time Canelo fought them is 34. Yeah, and he's like what, 29, 28, 29? Keep it real, brothers. Keep it real. So, you know, I just thought I would come on today, this Sunday, and talk a little bit about this. But I don't feel good about it. I don't like what boxing gave us last night. There's so much more that can be talked about on this subject, but I'm not going to hold you guys' ear all day with this, man. I just wanted to say my little piece on it. And, you know, there'll be others who have more to say and everything. And I respect anybody who want to come on and talk about this. But it is what it is, man. But I don't co-sign to this kind of foolishness. I hope Buddy McGirt gets the hell away from Sergey Kovalev, get that pay cut that he gets from the check, and get out of there. Go back to being a man of integrity, because you guys obviously signed off on this. And if Buddy didn't know about it, Sergey sure enough fought like it. So, you know, this is all bullshit. This has been STORMYBMAN. I appreciate everybody who came out to listen to my little stream this afternoon. There's more boxing out there for people to talk about. More channels gonna do streams and lives and whatnot. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. You know, hit that like button on your way out. And that's all I have for you at this time. I mean, I could talk more, but I'm not. I've said enough. But this is STORMYBMAN, and I'm gonna sign off, brothers. You guys have a good day. Peace to you all.